that Downing Street doesn't agree that's a priority for policing. Is that your position?
Well, as the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary have been clear, we want the police to focus on policing streets rather than tweets. And it's very easy for people to criticise the police, but the thing that we are always mindful of as a government that backs the police to keep us safe, that the police are there to enforce the laws that we as Parliament legislate for. So if over the years, with good intentions, Parliament has layered more and more expectation on the police and diluted the focus and priorities of the public, that is obviously something that we need to look at. The Home Secretary is crystal clear about what her priority is. Since she came in, she's focused on neighbourhood policing, making sure that our high streets and communities are safe, that particularly tackling violence against women and girls, but making sure our streets are safe for everyone, and tackling borders. She's seen record numbers of deportations, for example, of people who have no legal right to be here.
Just for clarity, if I may, because you touched on it, but you moved away again. So I'd just like to bring you back to what you were saying there about threatening material online, because you suggested there that legislative change could come as a result. It sounds like you think that the focus is in the wrong place and that the government's looking at perhaps rewriting the law.
Certainly when it comes to the online space, there is a whole load of activity that takes place online, whether that is targeted harassment and abuse, whether that is the grooming of children and young people, whether that is the sale of weapons or drugs and other illicit material. There is a whole load of challenging content and activity online that we would be really concerned about if it was happening offline, and that is where successive governments have looked to keep with the times and make sure that we are policing effectively online. When it comes to speech,
what about
when it comes to speech, context is king. And we do have to, I think, as legislators, tread really carefully when it comes to boundaries of free speech. And for example, I'm very glad that we live in a country where we come down like a ton of bricks on racism and discrimination. That is the right thing to do. And I think it's like the sort of the old adage of the someone who screams fire unnecessarily in a crowded theatre. There have always been legitimate boundaries when it comes to free speech, which is about protecting others from harm. Sometimes those boundaries and those lines are blurred, and we are talking shades of grey rather than black and white. That's why this is complicated. It's complicated for legislators, and it is hard for the police sometimes, because they have to apply the law as it is written, not the law as sometimes it was intended. And honestly, this is why sometimes when we have debates in Parliament, it can be quite tricky when campaigners are saying, vote for this clause or that clause, because often people legislate with good intentions, but they also have to be mindful of unintended consequences. And I think we are all, let's be honest, quite anxious about some of the cases we've seen in the media or proceed through the courts of what people have said online, where you think, was that really what Parliament intended when they passed these laws? So we've got to get the law right. And we've got to, I think when it comes to criticising the police, bear in mind the police are there to enforce the laws that Parliament makes. And if we're not getting the law right, we can't have a go at the police for enforcing the laws that we haven't got right as legislators.
So change could be looked at. Wes Streeting.